Welcome to No Compromises, a peek into the mind of two old web devs who have seen some things. This is Joel.
And this is Aaron. So I'm a big fan of doing things, quote, the right way,
Mhm.
but I also don't like doing things just to do things when it comes to programming. Like, oh, well, that's just always the way we did it, or that's what the tool does
Yeah.
and tells us to do, so we do it. And I can think of a good example of this that I think is important to talk about is for the longest time looking at database migrations and wondering why I'm doing the downside of it and testing it.
Okay.
And why is that? Because I know that when I do a migration, the database has changed, and I might have new columns. And what about all that data then?
Yeah. Yeah. And this, I think this is something that comes up a lot just within the Laravel community. Some firmly take the stand like we never write down methods because for that reason, like, is it a waste of time? Like, I've never used
Hmm.
the down method. Like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good topic, and I'd be willing to talk through how we do it, and kind of the reasoning behind it too. Because like you say, you don't just do it because it's there. It's like, well, I got to fill in this method. It was in the stub. I mean, I guess I got to do
Hmm.
it. um, but yeah, there's that expression cargo culting, like where you do something and you
Right.
don't know why, but just because it's always been done. And so
Or everyone else does it. So,
yeah, right, right. And so, obviously, for anyone listening to this, make your own decision as a team or as a developer, but we can kind of share where we're coming from. So,
well, just to be on the same page with everyone,
yeah,
we wanted to real quick touch on the migrations because I know everyone has different experiences of what these are for. When we talk about the migrations, really what we're talking about is the tool inside of Laravel to
mhm,
move the database schema
yeah,
to the next level that you need. And
hmm,
then when we talk about the down method, the theoretical point of that is to completely undo all of the changes that you had just made with the up method so that the database is exactly the same
hmm,
structure as it would have been before you were in the up.
right, right. Yeah, no, that's a good kind of foundation to build upon. So yeah, when you're writing a migration, the reason is because you want to change the database schema, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously you fill out the up method because that's like the whole point of the migration. But the down method, like as you said, should do what the up method does in reverse. But like, why do that? Like, and I'll kind of go to the obvious use case, and maybe we start there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can add in some additional use cases where it is valuable. So the probably the classic scenario everyone thinks of is like, oh, I deployed this in production, it went horribly wrong for some reason, doesn't matter why, and I want to roll it back, right? So by having a down method, you're
Well,
able,
when you say horribly wrong,
okay,
what
the site is
went
down.
wrong? Uh, Immediately, or there's a big bug that we discovered like in a week?
Sure. Okay. I mean that's an important bit of nuance. I'm thinking of the immediate catastrophic. The site is down. I don't have time to even figure it out. I just want to roll it back. I'll figure it out later. So that's the scenario I think most people think of, and I think it's easy to dismiss that as a valid use case because number one, that should hopefully be pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm thinking for ourselves, I can't even think of a case where we've done that, right? So, um,
Wow, you sound cocky.
uh, well, I've only been programming 2 weeks, so yeah. But I mean, maybe it has, but I can't think of that. And so that's one use case. Before I address your question, I just want to share one other thing too, which is some teams have like a strategy where they only roll forward, right? So
Hmm.
if there's a failure, well, then you write another migration in the up method to change what you need to change. And like in fact, I think is it Planet Scale? There's some newer database engine I've seen like where that's literally the only way to do it. So like obviously your circumstances, if that's what you're using, like maybe this won't apply, but I just want to address it.
Yeah, when you have like a journaled system, for example, that you can't undo things in.
Right. So that doesn't apply to us. We're typically deploying on MySQL and we can do whatever we want. We can roll things back if we want to. But you bring up a good point because let's say you deploy it on Monday and Wednesday a customer service issue comes in which says, "Hey, like this data looks weird. And you look into it and it's like, oh man, I messed up this migration. We would not roll back in that case because now it's been in production for
Mhm.
days. And I would even say, depending on the system, even if it's hours, like your window of rolling that back maybe has closed
Right.
because now you've like captured new data in the new schema. You're going to roll it back and delete it. Like that feels more catastrophic and messier than dealing with the situation a different way. Like you would agree with that, right? Like, do you think hours is maybe even a window that's too long to roll back?
Yeah, I think ours is right in that line, depending on the traffic that you have or the data. Like if it's only read only, then it's probably fine.
Sure.
But if it's, things are where you've added something where there is now data generated by a user that you can't reverse engineer really,
Yeah.
then I think that's an issue. So really what it sounds like you're saying is that the down migration is basically like your insurance
Hmm.
if something goes very bad at the time it goes very bad, like
Right.
at the time of deployment.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's kind of like the point of this is
Yeah.
like if something goes really bad within those few minutes, you can put
Hmm.
everything back. But after
Right.
that, it loses its value by huge orders of magnitude.
Yeah. It might create more problems than it's fixing at that point.
Mhm.
So that I think that's the common use case in production. Something goes horribly wrong, want to undo it. But the other use case, and I would say the one that probably applies to most teams, unless you have a lot of catastrophic deployments, um, it helps you in two other ways for local development. And so I'll take the first of those two that I'm thinking of, which is if you're working with a team, or to a certain extent, if you're a single developer working on multiple branches, having a down method is nice if you want to check something out that isn't deployed, that isn't merged, run the migrations to test it, and then you want to go back to something else, right? So I know Aaron, like you kind of sold me on this. Here again, not having worked on a lot of large teams in Laravel projects, I haven't felt that benefit, but you've said yourself like
Mhm.
doing pull request reviews, you want to play with it. Like this is something you did a lot.
Yeah, a lot of the times too, if you think about it, imagine that you're about halfway through a large feature, you set up a ton of test data that maybe isn't already in your seeders,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a whole new feature. You've created all the test data through the interface, and then someone says there's an issue in the main branch. You have to check this out. But you've done a lot of work to build that test data, but you haven't had a chance yet to build the seeders. You don't want to
Yeah.
lose that. You're almost done if you could just keep this data. And so maybe you do a rollback on your current branch to undo a couple of different columns and things and changes, maybe on a different part of the project
Yeah.
that doesn't really affect the bug, and then you can go back to the main branch and check it out. You maybe still have a lot of extra user records or whatever from your test data from your other branch, but
Mm-hmm.
at least the database structure and stuff is back to kind of how it was. And you can see that, then you can fix the issue, deploy, and you can go back to your own branch and spin back the database structure to where it should be,
Right.
versus, so you don't have to remake all that data again.
Yeah, yeah. So just kind of quickly being able to reconcile, like, well, what version of the database does this pull request or this branch need,
Mhm.
and switching in and out of that. So that's one use case for local development. Here's one that I personally find the most beneficial, and that is writing a down method, especially for a little more complicated migration, forces you to think about it differently, like at a deeper level. So I'll give an example. We recently, this was a long running project, a lot of legacy data, and there were some columns we just weren't using anymore.
Mhm.
And so it involved removing some columns, renaming some columns, even things across multiple tables that had like foreign key dependencies. And so there was quite a bit going on in the migration. Maybe like 4 or 5 tables were being affected. So then to roll that back, I kind of had to do it in reverse order, right? Like, okay, I got to recreate this thing that was dropped last. And in the process of writing the rollback, the down, I realized, oh, this thing I did in the migration is kind of dumb. Like that's not the most. It wasn't the optimal way to do it, and it actually
Mhm.
wasn't having the desired effect. So, like, you could run the migration and then see, oh, it didn't work, but it's not quite like a unit test, but it almost was like a mental unit test of my logic to work it backwards. And I found a bug and I was able to fix it before I even ran it. So I mean that was one I found. I don't know if you've ever run
Yeah,
into that
that's
yourself.
That's interesting. You basically, I mean, I could see where you could use that in various different parts of your application, not
Mhm.
just even the migrations, but
Okay.
what happens when you follow your logic backwards? Does it still make sense if you're thinking about it? You know,
Hmm.
it's like, as silly as it sounds, you can write the alphabet as fast, as fast as you possibly can
Sure.
down.
Yep.
But if you read it backwards, you can see maybe you missed a letter or two because you were just trying to type it as fast as possible. And, but
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, that's maybe a bad example. As I'm
Well,
saying,
I
I'm
was
like,
like, isn't it like a
what am I
sobriety
saying?
test? Like say the
Yeah,
alphabet backwards.
yeah.
So if you're coding under the influence, we want you to try this. But yeah, it's really it forces your brain to think of it in a different way. And so just that context shift of doing it in a different order might help you to see something that wasn't quite right. And so I mean, you mentioned testing, I think, kind of in the intro. And I wanted to come back to that because we're not writing a unit test for a migration, but testing in the sense of you should be running your migration locally, obviously, but also like running the down and then looking at the data and looking at the schema and seeing like did it in fact put it back the way I want? Because if
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that will go and make the changes in the database with a GUI tool until it
mm,
works, and
okay,
then they'll try to write their migration after that to match what they did.
okay,
And it's like you don't actually know if you wrote the migration correctly.
yeah,
Especially that also when you think about if you know you want to do 2, 3 different things, but
yep,
you're not sure if the first one's going to work, write the first up and the first down part of it
mm,
and run that and then roll it back because it's easier to only have one failing migration
yeah,
at one point versus like I don't know. I've had this before where you have a migration that fails like three out of the third
oh
out of the
yeah,
fifth step. And
yeah.
you're like, I'm in a weird spot where it's sort of migrated down. I don't know what to do.
Well, it just a side point. Like MySQL makes that worse because it can't do schema changes in a transaction. I learned this recently.
Mm.
Like other databases can. So if you have a migration that fails with like Postgres or Microsoft SQL Server, like it won't leave it in a weird state. So, anyways, that's just
Oh,
just
I
a
didn't I
side
didn't know
point.
that.
Yeah, that was one thing. I was like, oh man, that's kind of a convincing reason to like look at Postgres again. But anyways, side point. But yeah, testing it, rolling it forward, rolling it back just gives you the confidence that this thing is doing what you want. And really, if you do have that catastrophic scenario, you really want to have tested that down method because you don't want like the down method to make something broken in a different way, and now you're really stuck. So I think that's good advice to test it manually.
When you're like a kid, people ask you, "What's your favorite color?" Or like a lot of times, like, "What's your favorite number?"
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that the larger someone's favorite number becomes, the weirder it is.
Okay. Give me an example. Like how
Well,
large are we talking?
if you said to like son or daughter, if you're like, "What's your favorite number?" and they're like 6, you're like, "Oh." But if they say 672,127, you're
Yep.
like, "What's wrong with you? Why would that be? Why is that? Maybe that's their favorite number."
Yeah, I maybe the question itself is confusing because there's a difference between number and numeral, but I think most people are thinking like single digit numeral, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and as a kid, like when you said that, I never had a favorite color. Like I'd pick one just to like not be weird, but I definitely
yeah.
had a favorite number.
What was your favorite number?
It was 8,
Oh,
and I
I don't
just
like that.
it's what it's too big. Like 6 is the limit. No, I
No.
just liked the shape of it, and I thought it was cool that you could turn it sideways and it became infinity. So that's your deep thought for today.
About this time in every podcast episode, we take a small little second and tell you to do something.
But today, we're not gonna. You enjoy the day. Take it for yourself. Go find a quiet place and relax.